Hello, fasten your seatbelts and get ready for another exciting episode of Jim Rambles On. First, the usual introduction. Here you see Beethoven, Ben Franklin, and Scarecrow. Now, Scarecrow, he's a regular Scarecrow. These guys over here, they were known as dummy boards or silent companions. They were popular in middle-class American homes in the late 1700s and early 1800s. These aren't, I made these myself, so they're not old, they're replicas. The building I'm in, so I can put my phone down over here. The building I am in was given to me, I moved it here, excuse me. They told me it was a World War II era National Guard portable wooden building. It has trusses or supports in the corners that lends credibility to that idea, but I have not been able to find any information. I've been online a lot. I've called National Guard people, and they said, oh, talk to him, he's our historian, and nothing ever came of it. So if anybody has any information, it's just a curiosity of mine, I'd like to know. It's a neat little wooden building, all completely wooden. Anyway, so what I want to talk about tonight are my in real life experiences. You'll see this abbreviated online as IRL. Getting a little, the internet's kind of like a paradox. I'm getting a little suspicious or leery, whatever the word is. It's great for information, for receiving information. There was nothing like it 40 years ago. You know, I remember, you know, people trusted the media a lot more, and even if you suspected something, you thought that they were using 75–80% truth to bring in some lies. But now it's obvious, most all of it's a lie. It would be difficult to find some truth. You could order books from places like Laissez-Faire Press, or I remember when Bo Grice was running for president, he was enlightening people. He was informing people about fractured banking, central banking schemes, and that sort of thing, and that was pretty neat. But nothing like what we've got now. It may be God's gift to those who want to know the truth, so that nobody could ever say, well, how could we know? At any rate, I'm looking for, pattern recognition. I'm looking for an analogy for the sake of this video. Let's say that this may not be the greatest analogy, but it'll do for now. Let's say that you are a part of a military operation out in the field, and you are responsible for a 10 square mile area to look for the other guys, the insurgents, whatever, the paramilitaries, whoever it is. You've got a base camp. I've never been in the military, I've never done this, so I don't know if they operate this way. But for the sake of conversation, let's say that you've got a base camp, and that's where you get the majority of your intel, your long-term intel. That's where you get your best camaraderie, your best meals, or whatever. But if you stay in base camp, you're not out on patrol. You're not out in the field, okay? So, now, I've seen things. The tendency is to think, well, I get great information from the internet, and those other e-celebs, they've built up their viewers and their audience kind of organically or whatever, so I could reach people too. But I've seen strange things on free speech websites where my account was being manipulated, or it sure had the appearance of being manipulated, and other people were saying the same thing, so I know it wasn't just me. The ones I wanted to see, I wasn't seeing, and they weren't seeing me. It got kind of strange for a while. Now, I don't know whether it's the people operating the site, or whether it's possible for someone else to take my data and sort of like and put it through to another location, like a sandbox with fake users, and so you think you're here, but you're really here, and I don't know if that's possible. It may be beyond the realm of possibility. On the other hand, if a 19th century sign painter can think of it, how difficult is it? So let's say that you are reaching people and you get 5 likes or 20 likes on some epiphany you had. How much do you get shared? How much, by and large, you're preaching to the choir. There's a necessity for that, of course, no denying there's absolutely a necessity for that, but trying to attack enemy positions, are you doing that? Now, I have cards for different things. My work has gotten diverse. It's had to in order for me to stay employed. As I said, I'm an old school sign painter. I learned how to spray paint, and so now I do equipment painting also. And I have cards made for different things. Some of them have a lot of pictures of my work and just a phone number, very little text. So it's kind of like a little mini portfolio I hand out. I have basically the cards I need. I was offered 1,000 free 2-sided cards, pay for shipping, $8. And I thought, now what can I do with that? So I came up with this little activism card. I'm not sure. The glare is probably way too bad for you to be able to make out the text. Yeah, see, maybe you can there. I have to tilt it. It's got 3 messages on the top and then a black box on the bottom. We call the black box a reverse panel in my trade. Anyway, the top lettering here, it's kind of almost anarchy type lettering. It says, give us 14 days to flatten the curve. And below that, in a nice script lettering, it says, mostly peaceful protest. And before that, in an italicized block lettering, it says, building 7 fell down by itself. In the reverse panel, in smaller, very calm-looking white lettering, it says, you are being lied to. All right. The back, and it has some low visibility lettering, or just dark enough to be able to read. It says over and has an arrow, so it prompts people to flip it over. And on the back, it has the illumination. I believe when you have a fancy letter first, that's called illumination. An A. America is a republic, not a democracy, not 2 wolves and a lamb voting on what's for lunch. Admittedly, this is all very entry level for the red pill people. I know that, but you will see in a little bit here why that's necessary. So I have a full-size van. It was the same message about the 3 lies on the back windows. Now they're 2 squares, so it's obviously a different layout, but the layout there is very effective. It's different, but it's same exact text. And I go out. I've been going out on certain roads that have busy traffic. You call it a tactical. I thought about which roads to go on and yada yada, and I do that. So I was out. It was probably a month ago, at least a month ago. Well, but it was. And I'm going down the road, and I see a parking lot with trucks in it. And one of them was really nice and decked out, but they had Trump flags on the back. I thought, what is that about? So I worked my way back to them, and they were kind of in a circle of trucks and people standing in a circle, so I went around them and backed my van up so that it was facing the circle of people, and they could see the message. And I'm talking with them, and they are red-pilled people. Way more than your normals, but there are certain things they probably wouldn't broach, even if they knew it was true. However, they're talking about rallies and things. There was one woman who saw the back of my van, and she really liked it. She was with her daughter, and so I said, these cards here have the same exact message, and you can take them. I'll give you a few. You can take them and leave them at a gas station. You can leave them on a counter at a store where there's a point of purchase display. You can hand them to people. You can do it in person. You can do it anonymously, whatever you want. I'll give you these free. She said, oh yeah, that's really neat. So I gave her a little stack of it. And I also gave her one of my other business cards because there's no contact information on here. And I was hoping she would pass them out and call. You never know what happens in this type of thing. So now it was interesting. The one truck there was really decked out. I would, with the wheels, tires, and accessories and everything. Probably an $80,000 truck. I drive used trucks. I try and live debt free. So everything I get, I start with a used truck and do paint and body work, and that's what I do. Anyway, so I don't know the prices of new vehicles, but I would put it at least like 80,000 or something. And I found that in itself to be interesting, but that's just me. It had a huge flag on the back, not your average full-size flag like 3 foot by 5 foot or whatever. This was 5 foot by 7, a ginormous flag on the back. And they went their way. I didn't follow them because for me at this point in time, I like Trump. I hope there's some kind of Q plan going on, that you always have these anomalies, things showing up, and in fact the audits are an anomaly. But I'm not holding my breath, all right? So Trump was great. He was the best president we've had in decades, in a long time. At this point, though, I regard Trump and all things Trump as hooray for our side. A lot like the, was it Buffalo Springfield in 1972? He had a song, and the line in there was, 1,000 people in the street singing songs, carrying signs, mostly say, hooray for our side. And, Vox Day used to admonish people to attack enemy positions. Now, lately, I think he's been so busy attacking enemy positions himself. He's amazing. That he's forgotten to say it lately. So I'm saying it right now. This is based on a thing I saw at Russia Insider, and it's an interesting website. They had a link to, I believe it was, or they reposted an article from, I don't know how you say it, Un's review. That the nature of the message of the article was that the linchpin of the left is the media. So if we can discredit the media and show people that they're being lied to, that will help us out. That will have an effect on all of the left. And I think it's true. So that's what this is about. This is attacking that. There are a number of other things I would really like to be involved in, and I am to a little degree. Made in USA. Let's stick it to the Chinese who are trying to overthrow our country. Basically, folks, we are at war right now. I hate to quote General Curtis LeMay, but you get your quotes where you find them. We are at war now. Biological, psychological, information, and another. So. Economic. But I'm going to stick with, right now, I'm going to stick with these discredit the media. It's 3 very obvious lies. Now, after I left those people, I went home, went out another week, and I was at like a rummage sale sort of thing. Saw 2 guys underneath one of those canopy top things. And the one was younger. He had a gray T-shirt on with, it looked like a white panel and a black panel. The graphic layout wasn't really good. But at any rate, the message was, being pro-black does not mean being anti-white. And I thought that was great, because you don't see that level of, well, maybe a lot of people are walking around with that level of understanding, but they're not sharing, they're not talking about it. You'll see pro-Trump signs, you'll see all manner of jingoism and Gadsden flags and those kind of things, and those are okay. We need, reinforce. It's nice to know other people, how many of us are walking around. It's nice to know. But it's still hooray for our side. Most of it is. Some of it's like, hey, I own guns. Okay, I would rather them find out some other way, but So I said, hey, I like your shirt. And I handed him one of these cards, and he takes it and he reads it and he kind of laughs a little bit, flips it over, looks at both sides and says, website or anything? I said, no, I didn't want to have any appearance of recruiting, if you know what I mean. And he laughs, you know. So I offered him a couple more. I only give him like 4 of them or something. The other lady, I give her a bigger stack. People will take things for free. I've been giving away scripture signs for years. And what I've found is that people like me, they love that word free. So they'll take something because it's free, and it ends up sitting in the garage. So now the policy with signs is something like free with free installation. I'll put it up somewhere where I know that people are going to see it. The sign's free. Or deposit until I know that it's up where people are going to see it, and then I'll give you a deposit back. Or just buy it, and then you can do whatever you want with it. At any rate, you got to be careful with that word free. So I gave him a little bit of him, and he leaves, and there's another man there. It looks much more normal, in his 50s, based on the way he's dressed. And Hound Dog is coming in here, I gave him a card, and he looks at it and starts to read. Now maybe he read the back, the lies really fast, but he flips it over and sees back of America, Republic, what is this? He didn't quite understand what it's about, and I explained to him. Benjamin Franklin said, democracy is 2 wolves in a land voting on what's for lunch. If you're starting a country, you need to have your principles, your laws, your ideals documented. And that's a republic. It's established from the start. It's not mob rule. He goes, oh, okay. And he flips it over, and I explained the other side to him. I said, I could put 50 lies on there. It wouldn't be difficult at all. They do that a lot nowadays, but I didn't want to overwhelm people. People wouldn't want to read all that. So I stuck with 3 very simple, very obvious lies and put them on the card. And he says, oh, okay, the media is lying to you, sir. He goes, okay, he puts his head down. He says, the shirt lacks racism. And I realized he was talking about the other guy's shirt, and I explained that to him. I said, being pro-black does not mean being anti-white. There are a lot of people who are using the genre, the facade of civil rights activity to have an agenda that's completely against white people. You see it in a number of places. And that's what his shirt was about. And he goes, oh yeah, somebody needs to do something about that reverse racism. That reverse racism isn't good. So I left him with 1 card and left, departed. So now though, I look back on the incident and I know what question I didn't ask. So you in the audience, what are you thinking? What are you wondering about regarding that man? And the question, of course, is, sir, have you been vaccinated recently? Anyway, got in my van, started driving. Man, I was wearing a mask today to protect from, I was doing some sanding in very small quarters, and the mask alone created some manner of congestion. Woke up with a slightly sore throat on one side, but by the time I started moving and working, it was gone, but strange. I'm glad I never did take to the face mask. Who knows what would have happened. So I'm driving in the van. There's a couple places I turn around. I try and find a road that's busy going both ways, and I just drive the speed limit or whatever. Don't make any special efforts for people to see it. It's large lettering, by the way. It takes up the entire window. I want people 2-3 car lengths back to be able to see it if possible. So I went a little further this time, rather than turning around in a normal spot, because I was out of coffee. I knew there's a big gas station down there. I went to the big gas station, pulled in, parked the van, went inside. The young gal was really nice to me. It's, oh, hi. And I'm going to make another video about appearances. Now, tonight, it's a hot August night, and I've been working in close quarters, so I'm not looking great right now. But lately, I've been lifting weights and that sort of thing, and it really makes a difference. The looks I get from women and men is very positive. It's not, okay, boomer, wishful thinking. You can tell when it's beyond that. And I think that's important to reaching people. You do what you can with what you've got, obviously, and that's another video. Anyway, so she's real nice, and I go and get my coffee and come back up. Now, when I get to the counter, there's a guy in front of me. The counter's here. This guy, his back is facing towards me. He's got a t-shirt on that looks to be brand new. Jet black. I mean, just like he just pulled the shirt off the shelf with screaming bright fluorescent lettering on it, and a message I hadn't seen in a while. The message said, "Just say no to drugs." So he's talking to her. He completes his transaction. He turns around and his back is still facing me. He's leaving. And I said, "Hey, man, nice shirt." And he turns around, "Hey, thanks." It's one of those man-to-man moments. Right? So now I approached to the counter. And that was a perfect segue. I wasn't planning out. It was all just spontaneous. Perfect segue into the next thing that happened. She says, "I was just telling him the same thing about his shirt." And she looks out the window and says, "What does your van say?" Now, I hate mosquitoes and flies, so pardon me. And my mind goes into this calculation. Okay, distance of van, 1.5 tall letter, 2-inch tall letters, and I'm doing this calculation. And I was saying, "Can you read it?" Oh, never mind. And I pull the card out and I said, "This card has the exact same text as the van." And she reads it. There's nobody behind me in line, so we're not holding anybody. She reads it up. She goes, "Just this morning, a guy was showing me a video about all the terrible effects for the people who have been vaccinated." And I said, "Yeah, you need to be careful about your sources, but from what I understand, the government in the United Kingdom, over in Britain, their official reports are that 66% of the people," of course this was a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, 66% of the people getting COVID now are already vaccinated. And in Singapore, I'm pretty sure it was Singapore, the official report is that 75% of the people getting COVID have been vaccinated. So this video you saw, it's true. She says, "Oh my goodness." And I said, "You're being lied to." You see, NBC, CBS, CNN, they're a propaganda machine. They're doing a whole lot of lying, and that's what that card, but you can keep that card. She said, "Okay, thanks." And so I walked out the door, and I'm feeling great. The weather's great. The van's running really well, and at that moment, everything is pretty good in my little world. Why was it such a good encounter? Was it because of my spiel? That's part of it, obviously. I love reaching people, people who are reachable, not preaching to the choir. What was it? The other thing was knowing that somebody else is out there doing the same thing. I'll probably never meet the guy who shared the video, but it's really neat knowing that somebody else is out there doing it, It's just like, bam, man, it's a compounded, it's a really neat feeling. And got in my van, went home. Anyway, I've got massive bulk of these. If anybody wants to get some, I'll give them to you, And I think it's really important that we do this in real life thing, because